Let's explore whether meditation can give you superpowers. First, I need to make sure that the audio is working good because last night was a three-ring debacle. Okay, that seems to be working molto bene. That means very, very good. Okay, I see. I learned that phrase from, what's it called? A Barillo a pasta commercial. So, let's explore whether meditation can give you superpowers. This morning's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question posed on Reddit. Is it possible to gain abilities or, for lack of a better term, powers? It is known as Siddhi, and I'm curious to know your thoughts on it. So, this is my answer. 100 years before the advent of the Buddha, Lao Tzu either wrote or compiled the 81 poems of the Tao Te Ching. A careful study of the Tao Te Ching demonstrates that it's not about the reconciliation of yin and yang, but recognizing the contrast and always choosing yin. The same principles apply to Buddhism. In the Theravadan school of Buddhism, they often teach about the Gautama, the Buddha, who was known to be flexible, loving, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. And we also learn about his wicked cousin Devadatta, who thought it was wonderful to be rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. That's a mouthful of adjectives, isn't it? So, here's the deal. Those who are rigid, those who are superstitious, those who are controlling, will always prey upon those who feel disenfranchised, and often they will feed them adolescent power fantasies. I know I was one of them. There was a point in my spiritual career where I was convinced that if I just manifested siddhis, I would be treated with respect and kindness. Little did I know that the people whose respect I wanted were incapable of that. They were sociopaths and minions of orthodoxy and could never accept someone whose views were different regardless of the fruit of the teachings. So there will always be people who will prey upon the disenfranchised with power fantasies. But what about figurative powers? Now, as I am pan-geekual, which means I will give virtually any type of sci-fi a chance. And back in the 90s, before the launch of the Star Wars prequel trilogy, and after the demise or the conclusion of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, there was a big old gap. And so when nothing else better was on, I would subject myself to episodes of Babylon 5. And yet, there were a couple neat crumbs in that series. And in an early season, we were exposed to the notion of the techno-mages. Ironically, the head techno-mage was portrayed by an actor who had played a Klingon in the original series and in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So, definitely I was geeking out about that. And in a wonderful discussion he had with a character whose role, I think, was the personal assistant of the ambassador from a rather debaucherous capitalistic world or empire. He told the very sweet, well-meaning young man that while the techno-mages could not help him work magic, they could teach him how to have a meaningful life, and when the time came, to say goodbye to those he would never see again. Then they turned to his boss and said, "But we will destroy you financially." So here's my experience. The enlightenment Buddha offers us is simply the mastery of the Eightfold Path. That doesn't mean we no longer feel certain feelings or experience certain circumstances. It means that we get really, really good at applying the Buddha's teachings to whatever befalls us, be it glorious or grotesque. The seventh and eighth folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path are mindfulness and meditation, which are the exact opposite of concentration and contemplation. A delicious fringe benefit of the regular and correct practice of mindfulness and meditation is that our choices and our utterances and our deeds begin to flow from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. Perhaps you're as geeky as me and you remember watching Kung Fu Hustle way back in the 90s. Was it the 90s or the early 2000s? Anywho, it was a martial arts comedy. And we see the protagonist, a anti-hero con man protagonist, go through a series of epiphanies, and by the second to the last reel, or by the third of the last reel, he was acting like the stereotypical kung fu master, applying the minimum response to various attacks coming to him from all quarters. Yes, this is the stuff of adolescent power fantasies, but there is a crumb of truth here. The more skilled we are in the flow state and centered spontaneity, the more we can effortlessly and elegantly and humorously flow through life. Not go through life with a kick me hard sign taped between our shoulders, but with elegance and wisdom and humor to slip the punches and kicks of reality. How fun is that? The greatest siddhis the Buddha offers us is mastery of being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. Those are the superpowers I desire. How about you? I do look forward to meditating and then chanting with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism, Taoism, and Hinduism, and Judaism and Christianity, so that you wouldn't have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. All right. So we come to this morning's practice text titled Easy Meditation, and in the bottom left-hand corner we see a delightful meme which infers that this text has the approval of Buddha Cat, which is kind of a big deal. So whether we call it Satipassaddhi, Dhyana, Mahamudra, Cham, Protozen, Zen, Mahasandhi, Ati Yoga, Dzogchen, or Trekcho, it's just mindfulness and meditation. So what I'm going to do is present you with 4 easy exercises to get you up to speed in mindfulness and meditation in the easiest, most effective manner possible. Mindfulness is the 7th fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Every time we breathe in, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, we are accessing the sympathetic nervous system. No, it is not found in the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears, but rather in the thoracic or ribcage region of our spinal cord. No, it has not evolved to support either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration. And what is it good for? This sympathetic nervous system has evolved to support perception, allowing us to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Well, you might ask, if we're not supposed to actively concentrate, then what are we to do with our breathing? Simply this. Let us treat our respiration the way a piano student treats their metronome. When we notice our body breathing in, we could silently and mentally recite, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. When we notice our body exhaling spontaneously, automatically, we could silently and mentally recite, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. No, Virginia, this is not an affirmation. This is not about wishful thinking or belief. This is simply describing exactly what's going on moment by moment in harmony with contemporary neuroscience. Yes, this 12-syllable exercise is the clunkiest of the 4 exercises I'm going to start you off with this morning. But it can be as useful to a contemplative as sprinters as starting blocks are to an Olympic sprinter. Now, what I'd like to do right now is practice this for 16 rounds, assuming that a round is 1 inhalation followed by 1 exhalation. Now, it's going to take, because I'm breathing so quickly, because I'm doing all this jabber-jabbering, and the time it takes me to do 16 rounds, you might only be able to accomplish 8 or 12 rounds. That's fine. Being out of sync with me is not an indictment. But I pose to you an interesting question. How could one possibly keep track of 16 rounds on just the 4 fingers and 1 thumb of their left hand? Allow me to demonstrate. During our inhalation, we can advance the tip of our left thumb upon the various sets of creases and tips of each of our 4 fingers. You may follow along with me if you desire. Let's practice. Let us begin working with our 12-syllable exercise. All right. Quick review. Every time we breathe in, we're wired to notice sights and sounds and sensations and flavors and scents and the like, as well as emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We could notice the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. What are we to do with that which we notice? Meditation is the eighth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we are accessing the parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced within the lower lumbar region of our spinal cord, as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. During our inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite sitting tall, thus reminding our body to generate the vertical traction between our tuchus and our head. Don't worry, despite the inference of this diagram, your hair will not fall off. During our exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite the three-syllable verb, relaxing. Let us explore the first of two fringe benefits of the consistent and correct practice of mindfulness and meditation. In other words, it is going to be the second fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. We're going to explain that. Let's explain this through the paradigm of bad news and good news. Bad news. When we rely on active concentration and active contemplation, our blood is going to collect or gather at a tissue known as the amygdala, sitting at the bottom of our limbic system, functioning as the seat of both anxiety and aggression. Now here's the good news. When we replace active concentration with passive mindfulness, and when we replace active contemplation with passive meditation, our blood mass shifts to this hunk of meat located about 2 or 3 centimeters behind our forehead. It is known as the anterior cingulate gyrus, and in addition to being a winning move in Scrabble, it functions as both the hub of our mirror neurons and the seat of empathy. Perhaps this is why the highest Dzogchen lamas have always insisted that the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived. Perhaps that is why the two figures comprising this archetype of enlightenment are depicted as beautiful. During our inhalation, please silently and mentally recite "Notice this." During our exhalation, please silently and mentally recite "Relaxing." We come to our second fringe benefit of the practice of mindfulness and meditation, known as the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. In other words, the sixth fold of the Buddha's eightfold path. Consider, if you will, the following iconography. This gal, the color of a cumulus cloud, appears to be actively sporting in tantric union. This reminds us that contrivance is always trumped by spontaneity. Consider her partner, the color of the azure sky, who appears to be passively savoring the same tantric union. This reminds us that not all spontaneity is created equal, and that the scattered spontaneity we might experience after consuming our third espresso in 30 minutes could always be trumped by the centered spontaneity that is the fringe benefit of the consistent and correct practice of mindfulness and meditation. Furthermore, the more our choices and our utterances and our deeds flow from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, the more our lives could be as blissful as the real or imagined paradise or pure land or vati of a real or imagined Buddha. During our inhalation, let us kick back and simply watch the antics of mind as silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun "this." During our exhalation, let us relax into mind's non-graspable nature as silently and mentally we recite the one-syllable verb "ease." Having climbed to contemplative cruising altitude, together as a team, let us meditate as profoundly as Ahsoka Tano on Lothal. The individuals comprising this archetype are known by many names, described in Sanskrit as Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karmamudra, described in Tibetan as Kuntuzangpo, Kuntuzangmo, Yabiyum, and described in English as the All Good Ones Sporting and Tantric Union. How are we like the All Good Ones? Because of our sympathetic nervous system, because of our parasympathetic nervous system, because of our anterior cingulate gyrus, we're wired to not only master the Buddha's Eightfold Path, but to practice mindfulness, meditation, and empathy. Well, good morning. If you have any specific questions about Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or their application, please type them in the chat window. Click send, and once that makes it to my end, I'll be happy to answer them for you. If you have no questions, you're still welcome. Welcome to this morning's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window, and of course press the send button. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever lower abdomen we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined amogosity, comprised only of light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever navel we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Ratnasambhava, comprised only of light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever chest we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined akshobhya, comprised only of light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever throat we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Amitabha Buddha, comprised only of ruby light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever crown or scalp or top of our head we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Vairochana Buddha, comprised only of diamond-colored light. Let us return in spontaneous awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, Whatever lower abdomen we might experience or notice during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined. Siddhis, seed syllable comprised only of light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever lower abdomen we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Ratna Sambhava Buddhas, gold syllable or seed syllable Tram, comprised only of light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever chest we might have experienced during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Akshobhya Buddha's seed syllable Hum, comprised only of light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever throat we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Amitabha Buddha's seed syllable free, comprised only of light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever crown of our head we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Vairocana Buddha's seed syllable Om, comprised only of light. Let us return to spontaneous awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever moistness we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Akshobhya Buddha, comprised only of light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever wind or movement we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Amoghasiddhi, comprised only of light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever stability or earth element we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Ratna Sambhava Buddha, comprised only of golden light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever warmth we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Amitabha Buddha, comprised only of light. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever spaciousness we might have experienced during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Vairochana Buddha, comprised only of diamond-colored light. As we inhale, let us kick back and watch the antics of mind. Watch the antics of perception, emotion, intention, thought, memory, and imagination. Whoops. During our exhalation, let us relax into mind's non-graspable nature. Let us seal this morning's practice by chanting the Heart of Wisdom Sutra percussively. It is said that Quan Chi improves an archetype of love and letting go, while moving in the deep peace of the perfect understanding of awareness and release. Shed light on the 5 aggregates and found them to be equally empty. After this realization, she made peace with all pain. Listen, Shariputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form does not differ from emptiness, emptiness does not differ from form. The same is true with healing of personal impulse and awareness. Listen, Shariputra, all phenomena are marked with emptiness. They are neither produced nor destroyed, neither corrupted nor purified, neither increasing nor decreasing. Therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no appraisal, no impulse, and no awareness that once perceived cannot be released. No sensation, no flavor, no scent, no sound, no sight, no phenomena that once perceived cannot be released. No body, no tongue, no nose, no ears, no eyes, no mind that once perceived cannot be released. No feeling, no tasting, no smelling, no hearing, no seeing, no noticing that once perceived cannot be released. No interdependent origins and no extinction of them from confusion to aging and death that once perceived cannot be released. No stress, no confusion, no liberation, no path of understanding, and no attainment that once perceived cannot be released. Because there is no attainment that once perceived cannot be released, the Bodhisattva archetypes of awareness and letting go supported by the perfection of understanding, find no obstacles for the minds that once perceived cannot be released. Having no obstacles that once perceived cannot be released, they transcend the tyranny of fear, liberating themselves forever from the tyranny of illusion and realizing perfect nirvana. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future, thanks to this perfect understanding of noticing and releasing, arrive at full right and universal enlightenment. Therefore one should know that this perfect understanding of noticing and releasing is like a great mantra, is like an unequaled mantra, the destroyer of the tyranny of all suffering, the incorruptible truth. A mantra of prajna paramita's perfect wisdom of awareness and release could therefore be proclaimed. This is the mantra gate gate para samgate buddhi swaha. Go completely and perfectly go to enlightenment, may it be so. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 3/4 hours, I would very much like to return for today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.